Okay, I was breaking news about any project the ato your screen no and change the amamono NDC's candidate Daniel Nsala Wakwal cites EC chairperson Mensah for contempt of court, alleges she has not shown any sign of conducting election rerun as ordered by the Temale High Court. Ebusia sa news we samobekaya emrebi ye betin ho ekyerem se NDC per se almost cite Mensah for contempt. Na baby a yenya asa source no source na very legit. Ene sisia no info na yenya no eno ne ya project e de amamo na NDC's candidates or the Mensah akwakopi mu e wo court a omo cite Mensah EC chairperson for contempt of court. Mom yanko na yankonkuti NDC majority chief whip and sembia or the tuja. Unsubscribe subscribe like and share my afro so answer into me and kabi Ghana politics avenue so madam say.
Of Odan is the majority chief whip. I apologize for that. Honorable Roxy Nelson Echidapamekpo joins us. Thank you very much for your time and good morning to you.
Good morning, Temale. Good morning to your listeners and your viewers. It's been a while.
Yes, it's been quite a while. But it's nice to have you on the line this morning. But Honorable Akwa from Odan says you led an agenda that he calls tyrannical. They don't have so many seats. They have one. An order has been given. They've gone to court. They filed a stay of execution. They've gone to the Supreme Court. All have been served on parliaments. But because you stood up and still insist that seat should be declared vacant, the clerk has gone ahead to do your bidding. What do you say to all that?
First of all, I wish Akuffo Akwa would have read Article 112, Clause 5 of the Constitution. And he would have also admitted to you that there is a subsisting order of the High Court of the Republic of Ghana, particularly from the High Court Commercial Division, Temale, declaring the processes leading to the declaration of the parliamentary results on sometime 9th or 10th of December 2024 in favor of Nindam as null and void, and therefore the whole election ought to be rerun. I wish Akuffo Akwa would have admitted to this fact. And then he would have discovered that the clerk acted within his constitutional powers to inform the Electoral Commission because a High Court has pronounced a vacancy of the seat vacant in Parliament. But let's put all these matters aside and deal with the meat of the issue. We contested the outcome of the parliamentary elections in Pandai. We didn't behave the way they behaved yesterday in Parliament because we had an overwhelming majority to hound Nindam out of Parliament or make Parliament ungovernable like they did yesterday. We went to court. We've been very quiet and patient with the court processes. For nearly 11 months, or for more than 11 months, we've been in court. And then the court gives the verdict, and the NPP says that, we should disregard the verdict and allow Nindam to stay in Parliament. Well, we don't have a political party whose interest we must protect. It's the only entity that matters that the NPP's interest must be protected. What about the NDC's interest? So we haven't led any tyrannical agenda. We are only saying that the law be respected. In any case, they are in court. They have filed so many processes, and let me mention them. First, they filed a notice of appeal against the decision of the High Court. Then they followed it up with application or notice for stay of execution of the order of the High Court. Then they changed lawyers. And then the new lawyer comes back or comes into the matter and also files a new notice of appeal, canvassing different grounds of appeal, very, very interesting, then applies for application or puts in application or notice for stay of execution. They have not withdrawn the earlier one filed by the first lawyer. So that's what we call multiplicity of processes. So in effect, that's an abuse of the court process. Then they have followed it up with an application, with a certiorari application at the Supreme Court. All these are pending. And yet, you go and organize things that are pro-MPP, and you organize a press conference in Pandai saying that, hey, nobody should come to Pandai and do a rerun. Why? We are a nation of laws and order. Then they held a press conference at the foyer of Parliament, insulting the judge and the entire judiciary. They called the court a kangaroo court. All these don't seem to be working for them. So now they must come to the floor of the House and practically prevent the business of Parliament from being done. That is what the MPP has reduced itself. So nobody has set any agenda. We are simply following the law, and we are following the outcome of the processes that we went through in a court of law.
And he says that these processes have not terminated because they are in court. You have been patient so far. Why wouldn't you wait for at least even the Supreme Court hearing us on the 6th thing before that poll should be made for the declaration of a seat vacant?
Sana, where a law provides a procedure for a right to be remedied, it's only that procedure that will be followed. This is the authority in NTC versus let me see authority. This is the authority in NTC, the Supreme Court decision. All right. Boyfield versus NTC. That's the authority. There's another authority that is Ghana Hotels Association versus Pick Plus Limited, Supreme Court. It says a mere filing of an application for stay of execution does not operate as a stay of execution of that order of the court. Now, there's the Court of Appeal rules that I believe Rule 20 of the Court of Appeals rules, 1997, Rule 1997, CI 19. No, yes, CI 9. It says that a mere filing of a notice of appeal does not operate as a stay. Do you know what the NDC did? In 2020, they came to Parliament to amend that provision because it needs to give them opportunity to have automatic stay and all those things. They came to Parliament to amend it to say that the mere filing of an application for stay cannot or shall not operate as a stay of the order of the court unless there's another order of the court staying the order of that court.
Oh.
Yes.
There was an amendment to that.
They brought an amendment, and that is, if you take the Court of Appeal rules, that is the amendment that NDC came to effect. And yet the same people are telling us that filing an application for stay should stay in the hands of a court of parliament of the electoral commission from carrying out its constitutional duties. That is what they are telling us. So now I attempted to make this argument 5 years ago in the Jachikwesin case. I hope you recall the rebuttal from the NPP on the floor of Parliament. I said Jachikwesin has been determined by a court in an injunctive application. The Supreme Court injuncted Jachikwesin that he could not hold himself as an MP. He couldn't get his salary. He couldn't function as an MP. He couldn't get his district assembly's common fund to work with until the final determination of a matter challenging his election. That one, it was an interim order. They carried it out and drove the Cites out of parliament. When I raised the issue of we having filed a notice of appeal and stay of execution, you had to watch them that day. They said I was espousing a wrong law, and that a mere filing of an application of stay does not fit as a stay, and that me, I was a bad lawyer. Today, those of them talking like that, they are not bad lawyers. So when it suits them, they make the point. So unless a court hears the application for stay and grants it, a constitutional an organ of state like Parliament will have to perform its functions. As for the Electoral Commission, that is why we have cited them in contempt. Because the Electoral Commission appears to be in cahoots with the NPP and they are refusing to issue the rerun notice. And you cannot flagrantly disobey a court order to that extent. So as a party, we agree. And so we are back in court in contempt.
Hello, Nomo. Hello? 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 Okay, we seem to have lost him. We'll try and get him back on the line, especially on the issue of the conduct of the minority MPs and what he makes of that, because they say they were desperate. Like, when I put it to him, he said that they had tried every possible means to get the attention of the speaker. It had failed. That was why they decided that they will march on the majority. So that's an attempt to still catch the eye and the attention of the speaker. But like if you listen to our interview with Honorable Akwa, Alexander Kwesi Akwa, he insists that the majority leader, they prevented the majority leader from making any further. Okay, we have the whip back on the line. Thank you. We lost you there. You were talking about you going back to court.
So Senna, we are back in court. We've cited the Electoral Commission in contempt of court proceedings because we have come to the firm belief that the Electoral Commission is deliberately refusing to carry out the order of the court delivered on 24th of November 2025, directing them to rerun the Pandai parliamentary elections within 30 days. So now, we've lost over 15 days in this month. Today is the 10th. Today is the 10th of December. The order was issued on the 24th of November. It's been 16 days since. And the EC hasn't acted. So if this is not deliberate or alternatively supporting the NDC in this matter, then I don't know what it is. So we proceeded to cite them in contempt, of course.
Well, there are many Ghanaians who watched the scenes yesterday and are disappointed. As whip, it is difficult to say your side were actively engaged because it looks like they moved towards you. What would you say to what happened in Parliament in terms of the conduct of a minority and the marshals having to come in and the manner in which the appropriations were, the estimates were approved, among others?
Very disgraceful and embarrassing because you see, as a caucus in Parliament or a group in Parliament, you have tools available to you, which is to make your point on the floor of the House and allow the other party to respond, because you were accusing us of like the way Akuffo came to Radio Go to say that we were leading a tyrannical regime. You said all those things. So we had provided documents to set the record straight. Then people said they will not allow our leader or me to speak to set the record straight. Why? Are you the only people who have a right to speak on the floor of Parliament? And for 4 hours, they will simply not allow us to speak. Imagine we had used our might against them yesterday. We would have been blamed. They would have gone to town to cry baby and cry foul that, hey, we had molested them or used our majority, super majority to intimidate them. But everybody saw what happened. They were behaving like spoiled children who wanted their way, really needed. Eventually, they said, until Panda is resolved, they will support us with government business. Hasn't the court resolved the Panda matter? It took the court 11 months to resolve the Panda matter. So it means that if the resolution is not effected in their favor, then hell must break loose. That is the kind of minority group we have. They should go back into time and learn how we offered minority positions 4, 5, 6 years ago when we were there. We were very responsible minority. And that is why oftentimes when we made the point, and so the majority then wanted to have their way, we walked out. We never subpoenaed the House. We never blocked proceedings from being carried on and all. But yesterday, they even wanted to take the mace. This level of lawlessness ought not to be tolerated in Parliament.
Of the current situation in the House before I proceed. Yes, Majority Leader and Leader of the House.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members. Majority Leader.
Well, let's continue for some time. Let's speak to a member of the minority, Alexander Akwesiakwa, who is member of parliament for that constituency. Thank you very much for your time, Honorable, and good morning to you.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Well, explain to us what the concern was, because it seemed you wouldn't allow the majority leader to say a word yesterday. Exactly what was your issue, and why would you not listen to anybody?
Well, good morning to you and to your listeners. I want to describe yesterday as Ghana's day of shame in its parliament. Clearly, what you saw is something that is preventable. We were protesting the majority leader for making a statement because all that had transpired had been orchestrated by him as the leader of the House, and he cannot tell us that he didn't know about our concerns. Clearly, the majority proved to us that one seat, Pandai seat, was so important to them than the total government business. For us, as a minority, we don't have too many people. So we felt the one seat that we have seen an orchestration to take away from us illegally must be protected. That was all we have to protect. The government also had its business to protect. And so it could have been prevented. It was so preventable. I mean, we just wanted a commitment that the letter that had been rated to declare the Pandai seat vacant is withdrawn. Because that letter was seen in the social media. It had not been read in Parliament. We didn't know about it. But clearly, it is a letter that had emanated from the parliamentary service. And so we felt this is so bad. It was an affront to our democracy. It was against rule of law. If we're looking at due process, which is part of democracy, clearly members of the government side were not ready to stick to it. And so we will fight for it.
Now, explain to us the problem with the letter, because if you read the Constitution, the clerk had the constitutional mandate to write such a letter if he receives a court order that informs him that the particular election had been declared null and void. And he said he has received that particular court order from the Temale court. So what was the problem with the letter?
Not when the clerk had also received our stay of education, had received a notice for us to challenge the ruling of the court. So if you have received these ones before you write in the letter, would you just want to go by the constitutional mandate and refuse to admit the fact that we're protesting what the basis is for you to write a letter? Are you more interested in just writing the letter and declaring that seat vacant?
Okay, abusia we ne ensma ekoso ewo political highway so Mensah NDC ayede na akwa pimo kota enye asem keto akra Pandai rerun of elections de ensem bebre eba and any updates bia ebe drop bia no yen so ya jatum se ebe bremo medamase.